occur in the opening 2 every single time. And in a way, this also, like what we talked about, they could simply just be preparing for the Slardar as well already here.
Yeah, I mean, Winter, what are your thoughts on the Chen and the Brood ban? I mean, the Brood, of course, we just talked generally, pretty good ban to take out in the second phase, but what about the others?
I think the Chen would be a huge problem if you have a co-op and your early game doesn't go that well. They probably know that Na'Vi is gonna be very aggressive early on, and they try to minimize like how much aggression they can throw on the table, because with Chen, Shadowfin, and co-op, you win your lanes, you push and you take towers. It's very powerful if everything goes on according to plan for Na'Vi.
Okay.
Bounty got all the way.
Yeah, it seems to always slip by. Bounty Hunter making it all the way into the hands of Na'Vi.
So what does LGD need to do against this? They have Bounty Hunter. They have a lot of teamfight AoE. Luckily, they took out some of the heroes that are very good at sieging high ground or ending the game very early. But do you counter this by trying to 5-man a lot or out late game then, so that even if you give up track kills, you're not set that far behind in terms of the later phases of the game?
Well, they got the Wisp, and most of the time when LGD grab this, they get it with the Tiny. So I feel like that's maybe almost already set. Another benefit of this is one way of dealing with Bounty that we've seen is to pick defensive lanes that are really difficult for him to gank early, so he doesn't get any momentum. And if you've got an Io lane, Io can just tether into the carry that he's trying to gank and save him. You have Dazzle in another lane. It seems like a pretty good approach against Bounty to just limit his options, really, in the early game.
And talking from the LGD's perspective as well, that they seem to prioritize, like when they give away Shadowfin, they want to have the Wisp plus Tiny because it's really good versus the Shadowfin.
Yeah.
And what Secret did was they lane Shadowfin with a partner to counteract that. So with Na'Vi picking the Bounty Hunter this early on, unless they switch it to a core, then you can actually allocate a support to lane with the Shadowfin. Otherwise, it's difficult. Once you place a Bounty Hunter as a support, you want to have another support on the safe lane, more or less. Yeah. So it's difficult to allocate one more support towards the middle lane.
Okay, and the Disruptor coming out after the Wisp pick as a response here for Na'Vi.
I think it's pretty interesting that LGD didn't ban Wyvern. I think when Secret played Na'Vi, they actually first banned Wyvern, even without playing the Wisp. So, I mean, I don't really think it would reveal too much for them, but it seems like they were waiting for Saneko's hero to possibly come out and then pick the IO from there.
I think they can still pick Wyvern if they swap the Bounty to a core position. It's still possible.
But why would you pick Disruptor over Wyvern when you have Soneko as a Wisp counter in this game?
Probably they're already planning that they want to put the Bounty as a core. Then they want to throw their opponents off. Okay, they have a support Bounty. They pick another support Disruptor. We are not going to ban, like in the last ban, we are not going to take out Wyvern, and then you take Wyvern. Maybe that's the plan.
But is that worth it then? Is it worth it to get both Wyvern and Disruptor? That seems a little overkill to me, and it means they have very, very little ways of initiating.
Yeah, that could also be a problem if they have Wyvern to finish their lineup. The only initiation they have is the Curse, and the rest of the heroes don't really have any means of stopping or just starting a fight. So that could, I mean, Glimpse is decent in terms of situations.
The reason I would have liked Wyvern over Disruptor as well is how well it sets up for a Requiem and a Sonic Wave. Like, you actually pull them together, and then you just line them up and knock them down, right? Whereas Disruptor, lining a good kinetic field that holds 2 or 3 heroes in place is so much more situational. There's so many more counterplays. They can even relocate out of it if they get Tiny caught in the kinetic field as long as Wisp isn't in it. So, I'm not sure. It might just, I'm actually very surprised because Na'Vi have such a good. I mean, Soneko is also a great Disruptor player, so it's not that, but they've just had more success with Wyvern.
The Darkseer would have been really good for them. It combos well with the Disruptor. It's really good versus IO and Tiny, and
good
it sets up for
Bounty as well in the lane. Iron Shell on the Bounty. That's annoying for the supports, especially what LGD has right now. They have one support in middle, one support at top, so only one person is going to be dealing with the Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter with Iron Shell is very troublesome with the lone support.
Well, the Wyvern is open. Is Na'Vi going to take it? Now, if they don't, how else do they round this out? Because, I mean, no matter what they pick, even if it does have lockdown, like, that's going to be the only real source, right?
Question is if it's Hvost Quap. Because else they would need to carry.
They can also do Funnet Quap as well. I mean, dealing with that late game Gyro and Tiny is very, very scary.
Yeah. if they wanted to get a classic Faust here, and a potential option that we have talked about would be the Lifestealer, where he actually does well against Gyro, he does well against Tiny, just in heads-up battles, and then you can somewhat bring him in with Quap, but you need to be careful that you don't just sacrifice the Quap when you're blinking. Okay, never mind. So wait a sec. Okay, so it is a Faust Quap safe play.
Okay.
That's good to see. He actually plays a really good Quap, and something I talked about previously, I think it plays to his strengths to have it's not a classic carry, but it's a lane dominator. He's really good at the one-on-one matchups. This is the kind of hero that he should be able to just outplay his opponent on in lane. And I'm guessing it's going to be an Axe off lane here with both Disruptor and maybe even Bounty helping out in that lane.
I mean, they can also play greedy and just have Axe jungle. I don't really think they can punish it at all. Not with Wisp and Dazzle as their supports. Axe counters the Grave. It's probably the most obvious one, but I think it can just be played as a greedy jungler. I don't necessarily think it's Funix hero. Although, it depends on what they want to do with the Bounty Hunter. Do they want to scout out the stacks and try and take them with Axe and Shadow Fiend later? I mean, they have very good tools to invade LGD's jungle, which Secret tried to utilize in the first game.
Right. Now, Winter, what else is LGD looking for then? I mean, they already have the Dazzle. The
Someone to start the fights, basically, for Relocate to be useful. Like what they did before was the Earthshaker. There's no Clockwork, so Earthshaker could be the one that they go for again, or something like a Puck offlane, but I haven't seen that done by teams for a long time. But that's what they definitely need, someone to start a fight.
Alright, still ample time for LGD. Do you think they're thrown off a little bit by the Axe and the Disruptor, perhaps?
Yeah, they might be they might be figuring out whether the Axe is a greedy pick or how they want to deal with it, or it's just a laning Axe with a Disruptor and a Bounty Hunter roaming, like what Sin mentioned before.
Alright, as we're waiting, fun news for all the viewers back at home. We have another Techies game, and this time it's funny because it's between Secret and Complexity, both teams who pick Techies, so they will be Secret will be using it against Complexity, trying to give them a taste of their own medicine. But
that's a nice
meanwhile, Spirit Breaker rounding things out for LGD, so that's
Havost Axe and Funnic Quap.
Okay. Yeah, Faust plays a good Axe too. Again, same logic. Very aggressive, in your face.
Alright, Winter, I mean, how do you feel about the Spirit Breaker? I mean, that's part of what you were discussing.
Yeah, Spirit Breaker is a good way to start the fights for them, and it's very tanky, very hard to kill. Like when we were mentioning about the game with VG when they picked against EG when they picked Bounty Hunter, if you roam with the Bounty Hunter and you can't kill anyone, then it will be a problem. And at the same time, Spirit Breaker can assist the other lanes when Bounty is roaming. So it's a really good pick in general against what Na'Vi have.
Does Axe win that lane?
1v1?
Yeah.
Against SP?
It seems...
yes.
17% of the time not.
But the rest. So it really depends on the 17% here. LGD versus Na'Vi about to go into their first game. Now this does matter a lot for Na'Vi. If they can't even get a single point in this matchup, things are looking really grim to enter the top 4 of the group. Of course, not eliminated just yet, but it is nice to get a head start in the bracket stage. We are into the first game between Na'Vi and LGD.
Things are quite flexible. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in from the live streams wherever you are in the world. Get ready for an exciting match. It's LGD Gaming sitting atop the group, tied with Secret after a thrilling 1-1 series earlier today. They want the 2-0s here. They've got Na'Vi on the docket right now, and, well, as for Secret, they'll be battling up against MVP and Complexity. LGD still to face Fnatic later in the tournament. That will be tomorrow. But for now, Na'Vi, they're the team fighting for their playoff lives here, gods. They want to start in the upper bracket. In order to do it, they really need 2 2-0s, and, well, LGD sits there as the brick wall in front of them. Can Na'Vi find the old magic? If there ever was a time, now is the time. So we get underway with the game, both teams moving into the bottom side of the map. We are going to have a quick pause here from MMY. As we were discussing during the draft, the curveball from LGD is the Spirit Breaker. They see the last pick of the Axe. Before that, if this was, say, Team Secret, you almost certainly expect a Queen of Pain safe lane. But when they see the Axe come out, they think that's likely the safe lane hero for Havost, anticipating an Earthshaker off lane, and that's something the Axe would dominate 1v1. So LGD make a bit of an adjustment. They get the more aggressive off laner for Yao, as well as something that can put more pressure on the Shadow Fiend of Dendi mid.
Well, so Nico going to get some good scouting information, sees the LGD 5-man at the bottom rune, and now Na'Vi can make the call just to not fight this. Dendi's going to go for the top bounty rune. He's got 2 branches and doesn't really want to fight this at all.
We'll have an early skirmish here, perhaps. So Nico is the one scouting it. Does not really want to run down into the river. Oh, is he going to go for this?
Sentry.
This is risky. So Nico. Oh, he does grab that.
Whoa.
Oh, that's
they
so
don't even
bold.
sentry it.
The double bounty steal could have easily been a first blood, but he ends up living to tell the tale. A risky maneuver, and it works out. And LGD actually switching up the lanes. They end up sending the Spirit Breaker top, and they're going to aggro dual lane. And this is the beauty of Gyrocopter. He can pretty much go anywhere, but it does leave a Queen of Pain versus Spirit Breaker matchup, something that most Spirit Breaker players aren't too excited to see.
Yeah, this is I'd say, smart decision. The Axe has a lot of problems against the Rocket Barrage. You can't just run into the Gyrocopter too easily. And the Spirit Breaker against Queen of Pain is not that big of a mismatch like the Earthshaker matchup we saw last game for Yao, or early against Secret for Yao. So he can hold his own to some extent. He's very tanky with a Stout Shield and plenty of HP regen.
Well, Dendi already going to work here in the mid lane, and because they did not get the bounty rune for LGD, the bottle is a bit delayed. Only now coming out. It forces maybe into a quick salve. Dendi only sitting on 3 CS, but a good start for a Shadow Fiend in this matchup. There will be a bit of a Sentry Ward war here in the mid lane, and there's currently one on Xiao 8. None on MMY, though. It gives Saniko the edge, and it is worth pointing out he's been doing some warding off in the Dire jungle here. He put one ward towards the most commonly stacked camp, and he might even look for some body blocks if that IO continues to move and focus on economy. Now swinging around towards the bottom lane, but in they go. They make the move on Dendi, and well, don't kill him yet, but they threaten him. As soon as the bottle arrives, you can start to make these types of plays and always have your regen at the ready.
Yeah, Dendi going to be bottle crowing, and he has to be very careful about how he moves around this map. So Saniko comes back, and he's going to be kind of constantly having to babysit Dendi here to secure his farm.
Uh-oh. Well, this could be trouble. No
Yikes.
sentries, though. They really need to get that sentry over to the mid lane. Still sitting on the Dazzle bottom. In fact, he's walking towards the rune. He may just complete the journey